Meg. I am from the Swasa Life team. Just wanted to give a quick little context as to what we're going to speak about now. When we were thinking about Art Weekend, we were thinking of the different disciplines of art, what makes them come under the process of yours liminally, which is our theme, which is where we talk about exploring the unknown, moving from one state to another. Acting, theatre, filmmaking is something that we absolutely could not miss when we think of art and when we think of being in a liminal state. We were wondering, how do the characters that you finally see on screen, how do they move from a page to performance? We did want diverse perspectives on this. So for today's panel discussion, we have the utmost talented Zahan Kapoor, most famous for his work in Faraz and Black Warrant. He's an actor and theatre artist. From Kannada cinema, the undeniable Divya Spandana. She is an actor and producer at Applebox Studios. And to moderate it and bring it all together, we have Deepa Rao Acharya, who is a social entrepreneur, writer, and has had experience in TV and Bollywood script writing as well as content creation across media. So everyone, without further ado, please help me welcome Zahan, Divya and Deepa. Don't be shy, you can show some more love.
Can I take it from here, Meg? Okay. Firstly, hello and a very warm welcome to everyone. And I think before we start, I'd also like to thank Bangalore Art Weekend for this vibrant, fabulous initiative we are seeing outside and for bringing all of us, here together. And of course, a warm welcome to Ramya, Divya. I'm going to call you by both names, so please don't get confused. As you know, she's known by both names. And Zahan. I must say it's an absolute pleasure to be in conversation with two stellar, accomplished artists like the two of you. Before we begin, I'd like to quote one of my favorite filmmakers, Martin Scorsese. He said that your job is to get your audience to care about your obsessions. Does that strike a chord? Because honestly, from a filmmaker like that, who's created some of the most memorable characters on celluloid, it's a very powerful statement. And I think we all agree that a powerfully played role is a game changer. And that journey from script to screen, it's so fascinating simply because of that. So on that note, Ramya, I'd like to start with you. So Ramya, let me introduce you a little bit in my own way. You are one of Kannada cinema's not one of, you're probably the only female superstar. Okay? No, it's a fact. Don't deny it. They all agree with me. And your success rate in Sandalwood, if I may call it that, is stupendous. 80-90% success rate, unheard of. And so what I want to ask you is, you attribute a part of your success to the fact that you are very good with selecting the right roles, and also was your superpower, or super sauce as we say, being able to interpret that role rather, and translate it on celluloid very sublimely.
When I started doing films, which was I think when I was 18 or 19, this was way back in 2003, I think. We didn't think so much about our roles or the projects that we got. I was just telling Zahan, I've never auditioned for a film. The only time I auditioned was for my first film and I didn't get it. So the second time around they came back to me and I said, look, I've already auditioned for you. And of course it was a different role, right? But I was like, look, I've auditioned, you know me. If you want to take me, great. And if you don't want me, that's fine. And then they took me for the film. Having said that, I don't think we had the privilege or the luxury back then to have bounded scripts, or it was all narrations. In my first film, there was no narration at all. I had no idea what I was doing. Everything was on the sets. So I don't think that I thought about it in such a deep manner in the way you said, where I was very selective about my roles. I really had no option. Every other film I always played like the homely next door girl. So every film my biggest concern was how do I be different from the other homely girl. So I didn't have, they didn't write very different roles for us back then. Actresses were just there to like, for a few songs, maybe a few comedy scenes. That's about it. So I think that question is better suited to Zahan, not to me, because yeah, I just took whatever I, could at that point of time, whatever came to me. And if I thought that I had something to do in the film, it paid me well, it was a good star cast and it was a good production, then I took it up. Yeah.
Actually, also what's interesting with having the two of you here on stage is kind of like a compare and contrast. Because you are a little bit from the old school, if I may say so, and Zahan, you're a new age actor, right? So now Zahan, over to you. Firstly, I think congratulations are due on your breakthrough role in Black Warrant. It's a masterful performance, I think you'll all agree with me. And if any of you have not seen Black Warrant, you've been living under a rock.
And for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so Zahan, let's talk about Sunil Gupta, I think, because here we have this textbook example of a real life character, because of course Black Warrant, Sunil Gupta is based on an ex-Tihar jailer that's as pretty as it gets, and it's a non-fiction book that's been converted into a film. And you are a self-confessed nerd, right? You say you love your research, you love your reading and learning, so this is a great evolution arc for you. So tell me, what was it like playing Sunil Gupta?
This was by far my biggest role that I have attempted by virtue of volume and the fact that it's based on someone who is currently alive, and so not only is there a very strong visual reference point, there's a person there who's also going to look at you and I have to say, okay, I am you now, interpreting you. So it's a very strange experience, and it's a large one, and like you said, it's the gritty world of Tihar for sure, but the most surprising thing for me is that even if you look at the real Sunil Gupta, he has served in that system for 35 years and has come out of it still as someone who is in his demeanor quite soft, quite affable, quite gentle by most standards. And it's so strange to think that he's spent his almost entire life around convicted or under trial criminals. So it's a very, very strange phenomena. He is himself. And the fact that then he's put his life story into a book, and then that book has been attempted, the attempt has been made to bring it to life on screen, and then to participate in that process was kind of a stroke of luck and an opportunity, a brilliant opportunity in disguise. So, yeah.
Given your talent, that luck is going to come your way more and more often for sure.
Thank you.
Ramya, actress Annette Bening, she once said that acting is not about being famous. It's about delving deep into the human soul. And you try to underplay the roles you've played and things like that. I've always noticed that in you. But we know that you've played a diverse array of characters across, like the South industries. And you've done realistic D-glam roles as well. Of course, there's your Just Matmatali, Abhi, all of that. You've rocked it as like the glam heroine, mass entertainers, huge hits. But you've also done Varana Mayudam, you've also done Poladavan, and you've been convincing in all of these roles. So how would you say that how did you make it all resonate with your audience?
I think that would go to the director, right? When he was writing the story, I think he had a very homely next door girl in mind. So I think everyone resonates with that. I don't think now so much, but back in the day when we were doing it, I think women kind of resonated with those characters. But now, of course, you have stories about financially independent women, and marriage is not like the end of life and things like, not end of life, like the end of your yeah, the end of life, right? Like you have to take care of children and just stay at home. I don't think it's like that anymore. But those stories didn't really work in the past, like when I was doing films. So I think I also try to make myself relatable, and I think it was all credit to the directors I worked with who made that possible. Yeah.
So Zahan, you come from a multidisciplinary background. You've dabbled in writing, production, backstage, and of course films and OTT. But I think I can say confidently that possibly your lifeblood is theatre. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, that flows in your veins. And in case people here don't know a little bit about his theatrical background, your great-grandparents, your grandparents, you know, the
Both.
Great-grandparents I will come to, great-grandfathers, which would be a Shakespearean actor, and of course the Prithviraj Kapoor, and then your grandparents, you know, the iconic, legendary Shashi Kapoor ji and Jennifer Kendall, who revived Prithvi Theatre. You cut your teeth on theatre, of course. So the question here is, please tell us a little bit about your theatre background, and when you approach a role on the stage, do you think that your approach is distinctly different, you know, versus approaching a role, a film or OTT role?
So yeah, one is that I was fortunate to have been exposed to live performance from a young age. I did not think I would get interested in performing, acting myself until I was around 19-20. I was already interested in filmmaking, so I had already attempted to get involved in production and learning film craft as a maker, you know, in terms of prep, in terms of shoot, in terms of post even, like editing and sound design and packaging and everything. But it was through a theatre workshop that I discovered a more mature, or I guess a professional outlet to the actor's craft, and in a sense that I took it seriously. Of course, I had performed on stage in school, but never took it seriously. So learning about the actor's craft through stage was, I think, something that was uniquely afforded to me, and something that I kind of was genuinely fascinated by because of the simple rigor. The idea that a theatre actor has to rehearse so much, and because you have to be able to perform the entire story in one sitting, as against filmmaking, which is bits and pieces and then sculpted together by each department, and which is its own thing because it's the magic of spontaneity. It's catching lightning in a bottle, you know. But theatre is this slow kind of sculpting, and I discovered my love and passion for that art form quite organically, and I started my journey in 2013, where I started to do kind of workshops and I curated my own education. So,
how old were you then?
I was 19, 20, yeah.
Both of you started very young,
Yeah,
actually.
but I didn't start till 2019. So, I mean, 6-7 years it took me to start to actually act professionally on stage, and by the time my first film released, it's 2023. So, it was like 10 years, from 10 and 12 years almost, between saying, okay, I want to do this job, but then for it to actually see the light of day in a more credible sense, you know, to get my first professional credit, despite, let's say, all of my fortune, you know, to find myself in these positions, it still took a long time. So, which is quite interesting. Sometimes it just takes time, you know, but I'm grateful because it's allowed me to kind of keep at it and keep fueling the imagination and the tool and the body and the brain and all of it. So, and I still enjoy doing theatre. My plan is to kind of maintain a connection with both. In fact, I was in Bangalore for the first time at the end of January. I was performing the play that I'm currently part of, called Siachen. And I wish to continue to do theatre and perform and come here again and do more theatre.
You know, this brings to mind the saying that movies will make you famous, television will make you rich, but theatre will make you good. So I think Zahan exemplifies that. You've both spoken a little bit about your approach to your roles, but given our context here, let me get a little bit, technical and granular.
All the technical questions to Zahan.
I'd request both of you to answer this. You can easily really enrich us with your answer, actually. You can ace this. So basically, it's just about, can you give us a little bit of the bigger picture, the methodology that goes into decoding a role and a character? You can think of it as sort of like a little mini masterclass for our audience here. Who wants to take this first? It's for both of
Don't
you.
look at me, it's all Zahan.
Okay, I will attempt. I by no means prescribe to being a method actor. There is a notion that there is a particular method which refers to, I think that's Stanislavski and Lee Strasberg kind of space of things. Fortunately, again, through my personal exposure and my interest, I've read many books on acting craft, and I've seen several types of actors perform, and quite a lot of more classical actors, in the sense of where there's a lot of respect and dedication to the text. And I think every role, every job will require you to find a kind of your own unique approach to it. As far as I'm concerned, I enjoy a combination of two things, which is try and do as much research and filling of my imagination as I can before. So for example, Black Warrant, I was lucky to be able to have a book that was this person's life story. I was able to do a lot of reading in terms by way of articles and watching interviews, both of the real Sunil Kumar Gupta and of other people, journalists, law enforcement. So it fuels the imagination. Similarly with Faraz also, I think there was a lot of research that went into understanding the world, the cultural and religious worldview for these characters and how they would have been brought up and raised. And that is one side of it, and then the other side is serving the script. So I like understanding the scene, what is happening right now, what the relationships are, so understanding who's in the scene with me, and most importantly, more and more I think, the idea of trying to listen intently, to really just listen to your co-actor, to really be present, and then be brave enough to kind of react to them and use the writer's lines and kind of play, because everything else kind of is taken care of. The writer's done the work, the director is sculpting it, the costume designer and the set designers are creating the illusion of the world. The actor's job is actually just the tip of the iceberg. You're just supposed to bring that moment to life with conviction and with honesty. And so once you've done your research, and it just helps you feel prepared, but then you're just jumping in and you're just there. And if you can be there and listen to your co-actor, listen to that present moment, I think that becomes almost the most important thing. So I don't like getting carried away in too much theory actually. I think do whatever. I mean, if it's standing on your head, makes you feel more confident, do it. But yeah.
In fact, do you want to take this, Ramya?
No, I think the answer is brilliant. It's exactly the same.
In fact, my next question is a little bit, it's overlapped, but let me still ask it anyway, because I'd also like Ramya to jump right in. So, from what you said, acting is both an art and a craft, correct? So, there is the research, like you said, the studying, the methodology, there is all of that, but in the end, you have to jump right in. You have to be spontaneous, you have to go with your gut when you're on the set in front of the camera, you have to surrender maybe in a way. So how do you find the balance between the two, and has there ever been a tussle? And there's this full brain theory, by the way, where this researcher says that the left is to do with logic and language, the right is to do with processing emotions and creativity. So an actor is one of the few people who on the job needs to access both left and right brain in many ways. So how would you address this?
Part of when I started out, I think I was a little bit, because of my need and my desire to want to do well, to be good, to be thorough, to be a studious person. But sometimes you kind of get a little burdened by all of that. So it's kind of like, let's think about it like learning how to drive a car. in the beginning it feels like there's a lot of things going on, and me being the person I am, I'm also trying to understand that when you press the accelerator, the fuel is going, and that is what is turning the wheel, and the brake pad, that means this is happening, that is happening. So there's a little bit of intellectual understanding along with mechanical, simplistic understanding. And in the beginning it feels like there's lots of things going on at the same time, and you're trying to keep up. But once you get an understanding of it, then all you're doing is, where are you going? You know where you're going, and now I have to get there. Now I'm watching and somebody's crossing in front of me, so I press the brake instinctively.
Sort of an autopilot.
Yeah, so I think getting there is beautiful, and then you're free to say, okay, maybe I'll take this route, maybe I'll take that route, maybe I'll speed up, maybe I'm looking at him and he looks like he's slowing down, so I should adjust. So then you're being responsive. So I think if you think about it, that in the beginning it is important to learn, I think, the technical things. And like the left brain, right brain thing is one of films that you have to learn that you have to hit a mark, you have to, there's a microphone, so there are technical considerations to that. There's a frame consideration, so the close-up, you have to be a little bit more still. In a wide shot, you want to use your body a little bit more. Those things are technical considerations, and experience helps. It just does. The first few jobs always feel awkward, and then as you go along, you get confident. It's always scary, I think, at least for me. But yeah, I think so. Both, you're right, and then nobody gets so carried away where you don't hit your cut, and where you think,
That never happened.
or like I said, okay, maybe you might lose cut, but we're not going to go carry on. It's okay. Now we're going to go here, get into the car, and drive off, and now the shot is cut. But you're not going to actually then drive off to Chandigarh, and that's in the story.
The right brain always does have to be switched on.
So yeah, it's a balance. It's a magic trick.
Ramya.
He said exactly what it is. He's explained it so beautifully. I don't think I can add much to it. So, seriously.
I'm not answering the next question.
I think he's more articulate and he's able to express better. But I think, yeah.
If I may say so, you're underselling yourself.
No, I'm not. It's just that I
Fully
never.
articulated. We'd love to hear like all of these answers from you too. I'm going to insist. Right?
I'll ask the question. I'll ask a question. I'll say, because as someone who's kind of gone about it this way, how did you learn about both the technical and the creative side of the craft, given a very hands-on approach and not, let's say, a more studious approach?
So, like he said, camera angles and things like that I learned on the set because I had no prior, I didn't take a course or I didn't do theatre at all. So my first film was where I pretty much learned everything. And of course when it's like a close-up, you're very limited in how much you can really express, so it's more on the face. And then like he said, when there are wide shots, you have more scope to kind of like use more body language, and in fact you have to be more expressive. I think, in those days, I think you were considered a very good actor if you could like memorize 2-3 pages of your dialogues and deliver it at one go. Now it's not like that, right? Now you have cut shots and things like that. It's a lot more easier now. And of course my dialogues were never given to me beforehand. It was always on the set. And in fact like dances and things like that was always on the set, and I was very nervous because I really can't dance. So there were no rehearsals, and all my co-stars, my actors were amazing dancers. So then at some point the choreographers would give up on me and say, okay, just walk from here to there. And they'll make the actor do all the dance, the heavy, dancing. I think apart from that, I think I didn't really do, in my time, we weren't taken really seriously. Like it was only after I became successful were my inputs or my suggestions actually considered. Until then, I would just have to mouth whatever dialogue was given to me. Even if I didn't understand it, I couldn't ask. It was only after I was successful that directors started taking my suggestions and inputs, which was only much later on in my career. So it was very different from what it is today.
Was that the same for the hero as well?
No, it wasn't the same for the hero. He would decide what time he wanted to come, and if he wanted to shoot this scene today or a completely different scene, you actually had to play to his tunes. But of course, all of it changed once I became successful. So, then I somehow was seen and heard and I existed for,
You know, Ramya, it's so interesting because I remember you mentioning to me several times that you've hardly ever been given a bound script, correct?
Never.
So I wanted to ask the two of you, like, would you be comfortable? Would you just go, go for a role simply because the director or the writer has given you like this very passionate, vibrant narration, and have you, like for you, it was always about that. So I'd love to have both of you weigh in on this about a bound script versus a good narration.
So as much as again, someone who kind of has a deep respect for screenplay as a craft, for us was not a bound script. I signed my first film largely, and this reason is also largely because up until that point I was like, I want a bound script. I will decide, I will make my decision basis on the fact that there's something on paper and it's a creative decision. But I was so frustrated that I was not being able to understand how to kind of find a good opportunity or an opportunity that felt right. That Faraz came along, and it was Hansal Mehta sir's kind of film that he was championing, and there wasn't a script. It was just that we had a meeting and with the producer at the time, which eventually they didn't produce it, but said that there's this true story incident and we are trying to make a film around this story and this character. And we don't know, but we're looking for someone who can get on board with us, and then we will explore and we will discover the story that we want to tell. So it was a huge leap of faith. I did not know what I was getting into. I put my faith in the director and his kind of previous work, because I understood that he would at the very least make something compelling in a way that is truthful and honest and kind of sincere. And the attraction was that he was inviting me to be a part of his process.
Yeah.
So that was so I didn't actually have a script to go on. And with Black Warrant, similarly, it was an audition. I got, and in between that also I did a web series which still hasn't released, but both of these were auditions, so I was given only a couple of scenes. I went and I kind of, through association of who the people are attached, who's the writer, who's the maker, and basis on faith did the audition, and then got selected, got shortlisted, and then got selected, and then finally when I read the script and I was like, okay, I'm in it now, so great.
I think without a script, I think some of my films are hit or a miss, because sometimes when you're listening to a script, you're imagining something in your head, and then finally when you're on set, it just is kind of different how you imagined it, and then finally when you watch it on screen, it's completely different. And sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it could be a bad thing, you know. So I think, but now when you have a bounded script, like down to the shot, everything is there, so everyone's pretty much on the same page. I mean, there's very less room for, you know, it being very different from when you've heard it to what you actually see on screen. So I think that's one good thing about having a bounded script, especially as a producer. Back in the day, we didn't have those kind of budgets, so some artists wouldn't turn up, but then we have everybody else's dates, so then we'd have to like shoot from different angles and just like the back shot, a body double or something, or let's say the weather changed all of a sudden. So, you know, things like that. Now, of course, you have bigger budgets and, you know, so you can cancel shoot and things like that. Those days, we couldn't, so, yeah.
But actually you need an immense talent, right, to do what you did. To be just given a narration, no bound script, but then to go out there and still inhabit that character, you know, be that. That's amazing.
I have to tell you this, so my first film, there was a scene where I had to cry and I didn't know how to cry. So I was like, how do I just cry like that? So then I had my co-star, her name was Uma Shri. She's a very, very good actress. And she was like, just think of something really sad in your life and just, you know, try crying. So I thought of my dog who had passed away, and then I happened to cry. And then it so happened that the shot wasn't okay, so I had to do it again. But then I couldn't think of it again and cry. So I was like, there must be a way that I can cry without having to think of such really sad things. And like, here, take glycerine.
I was about to ask.
And then I cried. And then you can take as many takes as you want, right? So yeah, and the other thing that I found difficult is that, you know, I could be in a very happy mood and then I have to come on the set and I'm actually mourning somebody, or, you know, I'm like, have to do a really sad scene. You have to like really condition your mind to now get into that mood, get into that zone. So you just forget about why you were happy in the first place, but you're like in that. Or, you know, the other way around, you could be going through a really bad day and then you're on the set and you have to do a comedy scene. I think those were like only some of the challenges that, yeah, and also, because I didn't answer the other questions, I think the only way that I had scope of some freedom where I could do something with my role was, since I was a homely girl in every film, I just focused on fashion, like how do I make my salwars look better than my previous film, or what kind of jewelry. That was the only scope that I had in my films. Yeah. That's why I'm like on fangirling Zahan, because he's like so nuanced as an actor, and there's so much process and everything that goes into, understanding a character before you go on camera. Yeah.
What you said towards the end, physicality of acting, that's also a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge challenge. One is, like you said, being in that mind space. There's also the actual physicality, and takes a role forward to a large extent. In fact, we've seen in Hollywood a lot of those actors who really, go for the physical transformation tend to win Oscars, like Tom Hanks, Charlize Theron, people like that.
Isn't Demi Moore, no? For
yes, recently.
Yeah.
So, in your careers, the two of you, have you ever faced that kind of a challenge where you've had to transform your physicality, be really aware of it, and
I mean, Black Warrant was one. Definitely, I think I did try and attempt a certain amount of it. With each role, I think I'm finding ways that I can again bring different facets of it. And yeah, it depends on the requirement, but I think it's for me, I'm excited to explore these things.
Could you tell us a little more about the challenge on Black Warrant? Was it to look like the real life character, or
yeah,
more to it?
So it's a fine line. I was very clear that in my understanding, and it's also kind of borrowed from like a Tom Hanks and things, there's certain, I'm not trying to do an imitation or a mimicry or like an impersonation, but there's definitely a few elements, let's say, that you want to capture. It could be physical, like visual, and it could be essential. It could be the way his certain use of language and things like that, and I try and own it and interpret it and then present it as me, because it's fundamentally, it has to be my honesty also. So it's a mix, and given right now, this is as much as I could do. Going forward, maybe I'll try and push myself more. I mean, I don't know. The challenge right now, honestly, was we set those things, like how the hair should be. Every day I would get my hair blow dried and straightened. The mustache, the physicality. I lost weight for it as much as I could. Voice, dialect, choice of language. And then physical posture and body language, a little bit of these things I tried to use. But given the time that we had for prep, and given the time that we were shooting, we shot in 51 days, we were shooting roughly 8 pages a day. So you're covering a lot of ground. So after a point, I'm just trying to survive the day. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm really hoping everyone else has done their job, and that's why all I'm doing is that scene at that time, and you're getting exhausted. So because the work is so grueling, unless the writers have done their work, and unless the editors and the makers in post-production know how to sculpt it, it's not going to really pan out. So it's a combination, and the physical aspect I think is interesting for me, so I like it, but everyone again has their own version.
Ramya, I have a feeling you'll have a unique take on this, and of course movies like Varnamayadam, where you played a
Varnamayadam.
But you played a college girl, and then you go on to become this mature, serious woman.
Yeah.
So you've done this as well, these kind of transformations. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that was one film where I think Gotham actually paid attention to, because we start up, I think, when I'm in school, and then I think college, and then I get married, right? So that happened. But I think it was also a lot of costumes and things like that. I didn't really have to lose a lot of weight. In the South, I think because we're dark skinned, we prefer heroines to be fair skinned, but we don't want them to be skinny. We want them to be curvy and voluptuous. They don't want you to lose weight and be like, oh, uta madilva. I don't know if you understand. you're not eating enough, or what is it, because the audiences here don't resonate or don't like to see women who are skinny or dark skin. You have to be fair and whatever. So I never had an issue in that sense. I don't think anyone's ever told me that, oh, you have to lose weight. If at all, I think they've said, "Swalpa jasti weight madi." Just like increase a little bit of weight, yeah.
How would that make you feel?
I mean, well, I thought it was like an actor's job, but of course, you do, tend to think, I mean, I don't think that's okay. But I think at the end of the day, it's a character, it's a role, and so it has to be what, the director has in mind for the character, so, yeah. And the villains here have to be North Indian looking, You agree, right? See, if you look at KGF, who was the villain? Who was the villain? Yeah. And then in the north, you'll have all the South Indian heroes being the villain. And the South movies, you'll have the North Indian fair-looking guys being the villain. And the hero will be like us, like how we look like. So, yeah. Am I right or no?
Okay, I'll now move on to a little bit of a more serious thing maybe. But I think it's very relevant to the two of you, okay? So let's talk about empathy. Zahan, for instance, your Insta profile reads, to see with eyes unclouded by hate, which is a beautiful nod to being non-prejudiced and empathetic. And Ramya, you, not just with my interactions with you, I know you're an extremely kind person. You love animals, you're a philanthropist, you've been into public service, so there is a very kind streak in you. So would you say that for an artist, empathy is a very important trait to have, and do you think that that quality can help you be more authentic in your role and can help audiences connect better with you?
I'll just say it's very important. I think otherwise you can't get into the skin of the character. You can't, only if you're observant and if you have empathy can you really understand, the character and like really make it come alive. No, exactly.
I agree completely. I think I'm learning. I think I'm constantly learning. I think I've learned more about empathy in the last 9-10 months of my life than I've ever learned before.
Why so?
Just for many different reasons, but it's just been one of those things. I think it's interesting that it has become something of a active inquiry that I have. So it's interesting. I'm kind of grateful that you've asked this question. The line in my Instagram bio is stolen from a Studio Ghibli film called Princess Mononoke. It's one of my most favorite films I discovered when I was, I think, 8-9 years old, randomly. Nobody ever told me that I should watch it. I think I saw the cover of it on a VHS. And I said, that looks interesting, I'll watch it. And I watched it and it just changed how I related to stories. And I became obsessed with it. And it's from that film and it's a very profound film, I think.
What's the line?
To see with eyes unclouded by hate.
Say it again.
To see with eyes unclouded by hate.
I love that line.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a beautiful line. And basically, yes, to see with empathy, to not let your own emotion cloud your vision. And I think as artists, I'm very happy that my job requires me to do this, to extend myself, to extend my curiosity, to see something through another's eyes.
And to be non-judgmental
Exactly.
while doing so.
I cannot be judgmental, right? By virtue of that exercise is that I'm supposed to see what they see. So I'm supposed to see through any character's eyes, not judgmentally, but what is there, how does it occur to them? And even that, in that process is what does it feel like to them? Does it feel like I'm trying to, it may be a scene with a husband and wife, but you're dealing with somebody who you can trust, or you're dealing with somebody who you're threatened by, you feel unsafe with, you're dealing with somebody who you need to get a real understanding from them, you need to fight for something. So that's what they're seeing. But if you judge them, you can say, no, see, she is wrong because she has been saying this for 20 years, she's annoying me. That's a judgment, right? As against looking through the eyes of the character.
And possibly hampers your performance as well.
I'm sure it does, because then I'm commenting on the performance, I'm commenting on the character, and then I'm indicating on how I think the character is, perceived, and I'm asking you to, then it becomes an exercise of confirmation bias, as against an exercise of vulnerability and saying that, and it's a question mark of, have you thought about this? And it's an invitation. So I think empathy is crucial, and it's crucial for all of us. I think for every relationship, yeah.
Wonderful. Ramya, would you like to add something?
No, I'm done.
Okay. So, what's the role of a director in bringing out a good performance from an actor? Both of you, of course, have worked with very leading names. So, can a performance go good or bad depending on your rapport with the director, for instance? And we also want some real life anecdotes, don't we?
I have only 2 directors to really comment on. Actually, I have directors
Including stage, yeah.
Okay, including stage. Then I have
You work with Makram
5. I have 5 directors technically. No, 4 directors technically. All very seasoned. Actually, no. The one I was directed in a short film with a first-time director, and a small music video also. So a couple of things. Anyway, I like direction. I personally really like it. I like somebody who can guide me and give me notes. I like notes. But at the same time, I don't like being puppeted. So that, and I'm sure you would have experienced that a lot, especially in the early part. You're literally being told, like, do it exactly like this. And I find that gets me a little bit stuck. And I don't know, it's just not as freeing. And I think a good director is somebody who obviously understands your language. And something I learned from Vikram sir, that he spoke about this, is that on a film set, different actors have different rhythms. Sometimes there are people who are very good in the first few takes, and sometimes there are people who take a long time to warm up, and by take 8, 9, 10, they're on it. And I think a good director learns how to play. It's like a conductor in a concert. And you're kind of like, okay, they're going to be good in the first few takes, so I'll start with their shot, and then I'll move to that shot. And, so that's really interesting. And stage is different. Stage is like a slow sculpting process, and again, different directors. Makram Deshpande, super instinctive, gets up and kind of tries to embody the scene. He's not as articulate, so he'll try and show and do it. But then he gives a few little things before. Like one of the best pieces of direction I think Max sir gave me was, he said, now you've done the rehearsal, it was before show, he said, you've done everything, you know the part. Now, surprise yourself. Don't have that in your mind that this is how I need to do it. Like feel free to surprise yourself. And that's, so true. Like you spoke about that thing of, if we get so carried away, this is the thought in my mind, and this is the story that's going to get me there, you can be exhausted, right? So how do you keep it fresh becomes a big challenge. So I'm also trying to figure out what I can do to kind of keep that freshness, and what are the different tricks.
So a director's actor, but your own person as well.
A director's actor in the sense that I think at this stage in my life, I really want to rely on the director's vision. It gives me confidence. And yet the caveat being is that I don't want to be puppeted, I just want to be shown the way.
Ramya, can we have your take on this?
So because we didn't have a bounded script and the narration was just maybe like half an hour, 10 minutes or whatever, right? So I would really rely on the director to give me direction and tell me exactly how I should perform in this particular scene, how expressive I should be, etc. So I didn't have much of a say initially. I think later, I don't know, my films were successful, and for some reason I was known to be a good actress. So suddenly now the director, was willing to give me that freedom and say, madam, whatever you think, is right, you can do. Why don't you give your own expressions and things like that. So I think I had some freedom there, and mostly heroines were known for their expressions. That's how you, interest or engage the audience, right? There was no action sequence for us. So as an actress, it was, if you knew how to swim, if you knew how to drive a car, and if you knew how to dance, you could be an actress. Whereas the hero, you'd have to probably have like a nice fit body and know how to do kalari pai too and things like that. So So those were like the only things that were required. So in that sense, I think with my directors, I was mostly a director's actor. And I think in some roles I was given some freedom to sort of like give my inputs and yeah.
By the way, Zahan, what she's not mentioning is she is so popular to this day, of course. Directors have written roles for her, keeping her in mind. And like, doesn't matter if the hero doesn't, like, this hero doesn't sign up, we want you in the movie. They've written roles for her, so yeah. And so Zahan, you're here in Bangalore, in the south, and this is a question, that is begging to be asked, okay?
Which is the best masala dosa you've had?
Okay, that's not the question, but please answer that.
I am dying to go to Vidyarthi Bhavan, no, and like they have been recommended, and then CTR, and I've been to Rameshwaram, and yeah.
Buy two coffee.
Buy two coffee, okay.
Buy two coffee.
Buy two coffee. For
Buy
It's
two
literally a
coffee.
hole in the wall.
I want hole in the wall.
Yeah. I did an amazing masala dosa.
That's what I want.
Will help him be a even better actor as well.
Yeah, everything, like all does, yeah, everything expression comes from.
Okay, but you must check it out, even I need to check this place out.
They have branches everywhere. In Malaysia also they have a branch. It's close by.
So, what I wanted to ask you is, you'll be very happy with this. South Indian cinema is seeing an unprecedented rise globally. And we are, I'm sure everyone here will agree, we are beating Bollywood, like completely when it comes to everything, from popularity to box office to everything. And of course, we've had a lot of character-driven films like RRR, Kantara, some more, Ramya. This one, the other one, KGF from Sandalwood. So many films, all character-driven. So do you think the directors and writers here are very good at coming up with very strong characters that can really drive, like have great motivation?
I don't know what the reason is, but I think in my opinion, this is my hot take, is I think there's something that there's an emotional authenticity to these characters and these stories, despite the sensibility. But I think there's something deep, like the rus is honest. There's something, and it's dialed up maybe, of course, and the sensibilities of a certain kind, and the packaging and the form. So that's all fine. But I think something about it, in my understanding, is that when I watch it, I'm like, the rasa is correct. And so that's my take. I think sometimes in the Hindi cinema that you see, sometimes it gets confused. And I think it's a shame, because I think it's possible. I think there are obviously good films that are made even in Hindi cinema. But this is my end.
Can we ask you to name a few?
What do you mean?
Few good films which have come out recently, according to you, in Hindi cinema.
In a bigger, like in a commercial sense. What was the last film that I saw? I think Chava I didn't see, but yeah, probably Chava, with the reports and what people were saying, I think, so if there's an emotional authenticity, I think, and there's conviction of the character and the buy-in, I think you have to relate. Like, so Chava is a great example, I think, of that. I haven't seen it, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know, but I don't know, and I think smaller films also have it, bigger films have it. Let's see, I don't know. And then the craft in the South, I think, also is really solid. Like, there's no question about it. Again, technically minded, filmmakers.
So Ramya, I have a different question for you. We have to address the elephant in the room, which is that, do you agree that not enough strong female characters are written in South Indian cinema? That's one thing. And of course you have your own production house now, Apple Box, and you've said several times the main goal is to write, to make films, where the narrative has a strong female protagonist. So can you address this dichotomy we have in the South?
I think it just comes down to revenue, right? At the end of the day, if a producer is putting in money, he knows that there will be some amount of money that will come if there's a hero in the film, a big star, let's say, right? And I don't think that many people are writing roles for women because the audience, I don't know, for some reason doesn't want to see female-led films so much in the South. There have been some films that have done well in the South, but I don't think it has made as much money as it would if you had like a hero in it. So I think that's one of the reasons why. I also think that when it comes to Kannada films, right, we don't have many takers. Like satellite rights, I think for my film, still not sold. And then OTT is not very receptive towards Kannada films. Netflix, as a policy, doesn't buy Kannada films. Yeah. And Amazon, I think they don't buy Kannada films. It's only pay per view. And I don't know, Disney, Hotstar, Jio, no one's really buying Kannada films. So if I make a film, then I have to only rely on the audience because the theatre is the only way that I can make money. So it's,
you mean the big screen.
so it's you know, and it depends on how well you market it and things like that. And also now what happens is with the OTT, they set aside a big chunk of their money for like maybe a big hero's film in Kannada. So maybe they'll buy one of the top stars films and the budget is over. So there are smaller films that do really, really well, but they don't get bought by the OTT and we don't have any other avenues to make money, right? So we really rely on the audience to go and watch. But then now with OTT and cinema becoming so expensive for the audience, they're like, you know what, I have to spend, the ticket is so expensive, then parking, then going there, then your popcorn, I mean, you know, expensive. So they just wait or they download it on Telegram, which you shouldn't be doing. Or they wait for a month and then it's, you know, but Kannada actually you should go to the theatre because where are you going to watch it? There's no other platform for you to watch it, so you should go to the theatre and watch it. So yeah, that's pretty sad. Yeah.
You know,
So then to make a film with a woman protagonist becomes even harder.
Challenging.
Yeah.
True.
But I'm hoping that, you know, I really like my film. It was a bit slow. I get that, but yeah.
But would you say Kannada audiences, you know, they go more for the story or, you know, does it even matter? Is it hero backed or, you know, heroine backed? What is it that matters the most here in our industry?
I think we have a very intelligent Kannada film audience, to be honest. They just know which film is going to work, which is worth going to the theatre for and which is not. I think some films that have done well is because they're able to gauge from the trailer and everything, which it's a good film. But I think somewhere down the line, I think we've kind of lost Kannada audience because of, I think, the kind of films that we made. I don't think they like it because they're watching Telugu, they're watching Tamil, there's English. On OTT you get to watch so many Korean films as well, K-dramas. So they're expecting more. So we really have to, like, you know, up our game and we have to write better stories and even the filmmaking and everything. We have to give them something really that will draw them to the theatres.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and also Zahan earlier was talking about rasa. I really like that word, rasa. It communicates a lot, right, for a movie. In a way, Kannada industry has also been seeing a resurgence, right? We've had movies like Kantara. Actor from here won a national award. Have you seen Kantara, by the way? Okay. So the actor director in that, he
but
said.
You know, I remember one Kannada film I saw. Sorry to interrupt, but there was a beautiful film which I saw in the theaters many years ago called Tithi.
Very nice.
What a beautiful film! A small film.
Tithi.
Yeah. Tithi. It's a
Very nice.
What a story.
It's one of my favorite Kannada films, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, please. Yes, but yes, resurgence for sure. With
Yeah,
Kantara.
and you know, he said, Rishabh Shetty said something very interesting. He said that stories which are rooted in a particular region or a cultural ethos, like Kantara is, for example, he says that resonates globally and also tends to see more success. And you were also talking about authenticity and rasa. So, do you think we need more stories like that coming out from all over India? What's your take on this as an actor, as a role to play? These rooted cultural stories. Because like Ramya said, you know, now there is, you have global streaming platforms, you're seeing cultures from all over the world, you can pick and choose what you want to watch. So being authentic to our roots maybe also is a way to go.
100%. I think there's space for every kind of story. There is space for smaller, super region specific, there is space for kind of a more, you can kind of adapt and kind of generalize a little bit also. I think, I believe, I mean, Kantara also as an example, technically shouldn't it have been in Tulu, like the places, but it's done in Kannada. So there's, you see, like it's that, so there's ways to kind of navigate also. You can have something that's little bit lifted so that it appeals, and I think you can still be honest, and so it doesn't feel like it's not cheating, it's not a disservice. So there's a way to do all of this. There's a way to tell a global story also. Like Faraz is a story that's set in Bangladesh. We're speaking Hindi. It's technically not correct, but we're doing that. We're trying to bridge. We're trying to be authentic and interpreting art. It's symbolic. So all of this is relevant. I don't think there's any way that we should do something. I think it's an open conversation. I think it's interesting, the other side of the conversation, that what you mentioned is, we tend to take a lot of the burden on the creator side, but the exhibitor side, the curation side, I think is not discussed. I think this exercise of what we're doing right now, of bringing together multidisciplinary art and culture and trying to curate an audience and trying to build relationships with an audience, trying to build loyalty and all of these things. I think cinematically we've kind of lost that, right? Is that, like you said, it's become expensive and this is just what it is, and now there's nothing else you can do. But what is the experience? What is the feeling you get when you go and you commit to that experience? I think should be talked about. I think going to a music festival, going to see a live band, going to a restaurant to socialize, going to experience something live, we understand the value. But there's so many friction points now when it comes to cinema. I think we have to ask the question also, it should be a fun thing to do. Irrespective of whether the content is good or bad, I think it's always a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes I think the political environment also plays a role in how well a film does. In the past, propaganda films like against the government would do really well because, people wanted to go and see that. Now I think we don't have the chance to do that, so it's whatever the government wants you to watch, like that is according to their narrative. Those are the kind of films that have done really, really well in the past couple of years, I feel. So it's the mindset of the people today, it's what you're fed and what you find appealing today. I don't think the films that were made today that were big hits, if they were made in the past, would have been as big a success. And I also feel like social media today plays such a big role in whether a film does well or not. You could have a good film, but if it's not politically aligned with the sitting government, then the film is bound to flop. But if it is something that, they can use in their speeches or one-liners, then I think people go watch that film, they hype the film, and the film also does well. Yeah.
So on that note, and by the way, I've got to address the Kantara bit. You're right. I'm a proud Tulua, so yes. But I think he made a wise call because he made it for Pan Karnataka, but it of course became global. But he did use a lot of Tulu, which impressed us Tuluas. We thought he actually got that balance right. And so before we end, I think we're out of time. I have a rapid fire round for the two of you.
Where's the hamper? Without hamper, no answers.
I'll leave that to Meg. But I'm just going to ask the questions and you all could pick the winners if you want. So are you all ready?
Yes. See, Atiti Devo Bhava. Already give it to him.
No, like one after the other, okay? I'm not giving you that much time to think.
Okay.
Okay. So
then I have a problem.
Who wants to take it first? Okay, Zahan. Your favorite role so far, as in a character that you've played?
Blackwater.
Sanju Edgita.
That says it all. Zahan, your dream role, which is a character you wish you'd played?
In the past, like as in really?
Any, like in, like films that which have come out in the past, is there any character that you wish you'd played? Since we are talking mainly about
Gosh,
the role.
I want to be an animated character.
Which one?
Princess Mononoke.
I don't know, I can't think of any.
Really?
No, I really can't think of anything, yeah.
No, I think we should put her on the spot. What do you think, guys? Really on the spot.
Literally.
You're not going to get the hamper now, Ramya. Come on, quickly. If you could do a biopic,
I really liked Demi Moore's role in The Substance, but I don't think I would be able to do that.
okay. Thanks for answering that. Zahan, if you could do a biopic, what would it be?
I go blank. I don't know how to answer these questions sometimes. If I had to do biopic, I almost I got selected. I did an audition and I got it. The thumbs up, green light, everything, and then the project fell apart. And this was 2021. I was almost going to do a mini series on Bhagat Singh. So that would have been a very interesting biopic to do, but now it didn't happen. So one of those things, Then my director released the audition on YouTube, hoping that somebody would fund it. It didn't work.
Is it still there?
It's still there. Bharat Bala is the director.
Okay, we'll look for it.
Yeah, it's on, what's it called? Virtual Bharat, his YouTube channel.
This you can
Maybe
answer.
Kittu Ranu Chennamma. Yeah, I think her role.
A film
Yeah,
needs to be made on her.
yeah,
You
seriously.
should tell her, like a brief something on her to Zahan, I think. Educate
Tell
her on
him.
Karnataka
Yeah, I'll tell him.
history. Which mythological character would you like to play on screen?
So many. I am very partial to the Shiv Puran and all those stories, but I love mythology. And there's so many interesting characters. In fact, I read so much of late also. So I don't know. So many. Even Krishna, of course. I mean,
Krishna.
of course, so many stories. Which version of him is so mischievous and fun.
You make a good Krishna, no guys?
But there are so many. There are so many little characters all across.
But you would pick Krishna and Shiva. Yeah? Ramya?
I mean, they're the big ones, that we think about.
I don't know, I can only think of Draupadi and Sita and... Who? Who Padmavati? Correct. Yeah, but okay, yeah. Yeah.
A masala masi film or an artsy realistic one?
Dying to do a masala masi film. I want, really.
Opposite. I've done only those.
Okay, so both of you come from a multidisciplinary background and dabbled in different aspects of filmmaking. Which do you enjoy the best? Because I don't think it necessarily has to be acting. So which, like production, acting, writing, which aspect do you enjoy the best?
Currently, I genuinely enjoy writing, but I have to say I love editing. I hate the drudgery of it at times, but when it's creative, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy editing. I like the craft of editing. I think it's very interesting how you create meaning and rhythm and energy around shots.
It wasn't exactly
Yeah.
editing.
So editing it's interesting actually. There are three pillars of the process, right? Writing is blank canvas stuff and it's complete imagination. Acting is this very subjective, embodied way of interpreting a story and jumping in with your being. And editing is this kind of so as in blank canvas, this is the material you have, and now you can play within that boundary, but you can create a lot of things. So it's these three pillars that are in three different aspects of the process.
Ramya?
Being in front of the camera, that's like my happy place.
That's why your fans also love to see you.
Yeah.
Everyone's waiting for your comeback. Commercial success or critical acclaim? And you're not allowed to say both. If you're like, just pick one. Commercial success or critical acclaim?
I think commercial success. It's all about the money.
Yeah, I think commercial success is also because I feel the resonance, like the idea of you're able to touch and connect with so many. I appreciate that.
So commercial success.
Yeah.
Okay. If you see a fabulous strong character in a weak script, would you still go ahead and take the role? Yes or no? No?
I don't know how you can have a fabulous character in a
Yeah,
weak script.
sometimes it can happen. But yeah, the
It's hard
character-
for me to say that only because again I want the story means more to me than just the character.
If you have a strong character and a weak script, it's not going to work. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, Zahan, this one is for you. Your favorite Kapoor actor?
Prithviraj Kapoor.
Good answer. And your favorite Kapoor film?
Maybe Aag.
My favorite Kapoor actor?
Oh, you also want to take? I think that deserves a round of applause. Many of us today would agree with Ramya's answer. But Ramya, I have two quick questions for you. One is your all-time favorite Kannada film, not of course necessarily one of yours, and your all-time favorite character in a Kannada film.
Okay. I love Titi. I love Gantu Mute. And I also like this film called Hadnedu Hadnentu. Then I liked Achar and Co. Yeah. I also like Sapta Sagra Dachiyallo. First part. I really like. Yeah. I gave you 4.
Hope you all took notes. And your
They've all watched it.
your favorite character ever in Kannada cinema?
Mine? No.
No, not your own.
Not my
Not
own.
your own.
I don't know, I can't think of anything right now. No, yeah, nothing that comes to mind. I liked the character of, I forget the actor's name, in Gantu Mute. I really
Does
liked
anyone know?
Yeah, I think she was phenomenal.
Okay.
So subtle, but how beautifully she expressed in the film. Yeah.
Okay. So on that regional pride note, I think it's like a good way to wind up. Of course, we have our guest from Bombay. But before we end this, I'd like to once again thank you all for being a lovely audience. I love that there was so much silence and interactivity.
No questions from them?
Yeah, and ask if you've got any questions. Can someone please?
Okay, my first question is probably for everybody. First, beyond Hindi movies, Amritadare, that is with Ramya, and Ramya is the first Kannada lead actress to share screen space with Amitabh Bachchan. And same way for Prithviraj Kapoor, your great grandfather, is beyond Hindi movies, Kannada in 1970s, Sakshatkara with legendary Dr. Rajkumar. And Ramya, can share your moments with Amitabh Bachchan working. This is my question. Thank you.
Okay. I was super excited, but I was also extremely nervous because I was shooting with Mr. Bachchan, of course. And when I went on the sets, and I think he kind of realized I was really nervous, so he sat me down, and then I think he tried to make me kind of like ease me up. He said, I know palmistry, I can read your palm and things like that. So he took my palm and he said 3 things. He said, you're very misunderstood. I said, yes. And he said, sometimes you have stomach problems. I said, yes. And then the third thing, he said something I don't remember. And I was like, oh my God, how do you know? But he's like, but this is what, it's common with everybody, right? And so he used this in college when he wanted to But then, just him humoring me and then just kind of like give me that comfort. I thought that was really nice of him. He didn't have to do it. And I think that's his humility, and therefore he is Mr. Bachchan. And then after that, it was just very easy. Yeah, that was my experience working with him.
That was an interesting question and a lovely answer.
So Zahan, please.
You need to watch Sakshatkara. It's available on YouTube.
I will. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi Ramya. It's a great opportunity to meet you today. I think I'm living my 20 years dream. I just don't want to get emotional. But my question is, you have played a lot of characters over the period of time. Is there anything that has left you a great impact that you want to look back at it and feel a sense of satisfaction?
I think all my films, right, I'm very grateful for every work, all the opportunities that I got. And I think the audience was very receptive. Some of the films I didn't like at all when I watched them, but then all of you liked it. So I think I'm very lucky and grateful. I think Sanju Veds Geeta did a lot for me in terms of my career and the number of awards I won and everything. So I think in that sense, I think Sanju Veds Geeta will be very close to my heart. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, my question's for Zahan. I watched Black Warrant a few weeks ago. I really enjoyed your performance. And I'm sorry, I have to say I'm also a very big fan of your face. My question is, when you approached the character of Sunit, did you fall back on your theatre training, or did you look to some of the honest and righteous cops that have been portrayed in Hindi cinema?
First, thank you. Thank you for watching. I'm very happy to hear that you enjoyed it. I think it's impossible for me to not fall back on my training, in a sense that both things I take with me. I take with me my understanding of stagecraft, I take with me my understanding of cinema craft. I try not to reference other films. I try really not to, I don't like comparing against other performances like that. So it was a combination of real characters, so interviews of the real Sunit Gupta, interviews and even podcasts of other people, so news reporters, to get a sense of the world. So that is what I'm imbibing, and then trying to bring my interpretation to it. So my theatre training is bringing my due diligence, to the role. My cinema training is bringing my ability to understand this shot, that shot, how to kind of catch the frame, how to hold space, how to do things like that, and yeah, it's this technical things that help me. So it's a bit of both, and then really good co-actors who are alive and present with you and are giving you so much that you can feel like you can trust them to do something and for you to react, and they will react to you, and you're listening to each other. That's
All the scenes between Sunil and Subraj were such a treat to watch because of the kind of game and playing with each other.
yeah, totally. It's a full game, and for me to play that game also, and you kind of to imagine yourself in that situation, that, and it's amazing. Like even for us, it's an opportunity. Like it would hit me that how lucky we are to be able to explore these things with a large degree of safety. But they're very dangerous things. I would not want any one of us to be in those situations, right? To be confronted by somebody who has the capacity to kill you. We really don't want to find ourselves in those situations. But to feel safe enough to then explore it and put yourself in that position is really, it's a blessing. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I think we have time for just one more.
This is for Zahan. I'm a big Shashi Kapoor fan, and I think it's not really a question, it's a comment. I think in many of the shots in Black Warrant, there were so many glimpses of Shashi Kapoor, and it was so nostalgic. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
You resemble him, and there's a lot of resemblance.
Thank you. Every time somebody mentions something like this, it's also a reminder for me that how much of the happiness that was created by his work, and that you still hold and that you still share, and for me to be able to rekindle a little bit of it, it's a nice continuum to be a part of. It's again, I'm grateful and thank you so much for sharing.
It's actually, my aunt was a Shashi Kapoor fan, and I would tag along with her for his movies, and I find him really so handsome.
Yeah,
But,
that's it's so nice to hear that again. Like relationships can be built around these shared interests. So it's so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. And this talk also.
Meg, do we have time for questions, or are we done? Yeah? Okay. So on that wonderful note, I think, we're going to say thank you so much.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you for being a lovely audience. And thank you, Meg, for all the support, and much appreciated. Thank you. Bangalore Art Weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone. That's all we have for today at Sabha. We'll see you tomorrow and day after. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, man.